Imagine the most iconic moment in modern history, July 20th, 1969. Millions of people around the world gather around their televisions, breath held, eyes glued to grainy black and white screens. A lone figure descending from a fragile metal ladder onto the powdery surface of the moon. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. That man was Neil Armstrong. But who was he really? Today, we pull back the curtain on the man behind the legend. In this film, we explore the untold stories of Neil Armstrong, the quiet engineer, the reluctant hero, and the private soul whose life, though orbiting greatness, remained largely unseen by the public eye. Neil Armstrong was born on August 5, 1930, in Wapakoneta, Ohio, a small Midwestern town that could hardly predict it would one day be known worldwide. Fascinated by flight from a young age, Neil built model airplanes and took his first plane ride at age 6. By 15, he had his pilot's license before he even had a driver's license. For Armstrong, the sky was never the limit. It was only the beginning. He enrolled at Purdue University under a Navy scholarship and served as a naval aviator in the Korean War. There, Armstrong flew 78 combat missions and narrowly escaped death when his plane was shot and he ejected over hostile territory. These experiences honed his focus, his calm under pressure, and his devotion to engineering precision, traits that would define him forever. After the war, Armstrong joined the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, the predecessor to NASA, where he became a test pilot. He flew over 200 different types of aircraft, including the experimental X-15, which soared to the edge of space. Armstrong never chased fame. He chased understanding. And though he would go higher than most humans ever have, he always kept his feet firmly planted in humility. In 1962, he joined NASA's astronaut corps, but his path to the moon wasn't straightforward. He was selected as the command pilot for Gemini 8 in 1966. That mission nearly ended in disaster when a stuck thruster sent the spacecraft into a terrifying spin. With just seconds before blacking out, Armstrong calmly disengaged the docking mechanism and stabilized the craft. His coolness under pressure saved the mission and his crewmate's life, and earned him trust at the highest levels of NASA. When the Apollo 11 crew was being assembled, Armstrong was the obvious choice for mission commander, but behind closed doors, it was a quiet, reluctant decision. Armstrong didn't seek attention. He disliked interviews, avoided politics, and had little interest in becoming a symbol. Yet, fate had chosen him. On July 20th, 1969, with fuel dwindling and a boulder field beneath them, Armstrong took manual control of the lunar module and landed with only 20 seconds of fuel remaining. His heart rate, under extreme stress, barely passed 110. As he stepped onto the moon and delivered that famous line, history was made, and Armstrong's place in it secured. But here's what many don't know. Armstrong never liked the spotlight. He often corrected people when misquoted. The phrase was intended to be, "That's one small step for a man," but the audio missed the A. For years, Armstrong insisted he said it, and acoustic analysis later supported his claim. After returning to Earth, Armstrong did not bask in celebrity. In fact, he shrank from it. He gave few interviews, refused book deals, and avoided public commentaries. Instead, He became a professor of aerospace engineering at the University of Cincinnati, wanting to contribute quietly to future generations. He was more interested in formulas than fame. His personal life, too, remained behind closed doors. He married Janet Sharon in 1956, and together they had 3 children. Tragedy struck when their young daughter, Karen, died of a brain tumor. The loss deeply affected Armstrong, who never spoke publicly about her again. Colleagues noticed his even greater emotional reserve after her death. In public, Armstrong appeared calm, but privately, he was haunted by memories, pressure, and grief. His marriage, strained by fame and his emotional distance, ended in divorce after 38 years. Friends described him as kind and thoughtful, but distant. Even fellow astronauts sometimes found him hard to read. One of the more curious chapters of Armstrong's post-moon life involved autograph fraud. After his signature became highly valuable, forgeries and scams surged. Armstrong, upset by exploitation, stopped signing altogether in the 1990s. In a world eager to turn his name into profit, Armstrong withdrew further into privacy. Despite his reluctance, Armstrong did appear at significant anniversaries, offering carefully chosen words. During the 25th anniversary of Apollo 11, he addressed the public. The important achievement of Apollo was the demonstration that humanity is not forever chained to this planet. His final years were quiet. He remarried, traveled occasionally, but largely stayed out of the limelight. In 2012, after heart surgery, Armstrong passed away. A medical mishap may have contributed to his death, a fact only revealed when his family received a $6 million settlement from the hospital, quietly and without media attention. Even in death, Armstrong's story remained half-hidden, quietly handled, without spectacle. Today, we remember Neil Armstrong not just for the footprint on the moon, but for the depth of his humanity. He didn't crave glory. He shouldered it. He wasn't a man of grand gestures, but of precision, humility, and quiet courage. Armstrong's legacy lives on in ways beyond lunar plaques and museum exhibits. His mission showed what was possible when courage, intellect, and discipline aligned. It reminded us that space exploration isn't about conquering the stars, but understanding our place beneath them. So next time you look up at the moon, remember, the man who first stepped there never saw himself as a hero. He saw himself as an engineer doing his job. But that's exactly why Neil Armstrong remains one of history's most compelling figures, a man whose greatest leap was matched only by the depths of his character.